Good morning and welcome to the latest in our In Conversation With series. And good morning, I'm Sarah Austin. My guest this morning is Amyr Rocha Lima, and really looking forward to hearing from Amyr. Amyr is a leading figure in the community in Kingston and Wimbledon. He's a partner in the wealth management firm Holland Hahn Wills, and he's going to be sharing with us the inspiration behind the business and also his life's journey, which is fascinating. I can't wait for this one. And here he is. Hadn't really got far into introducing you. So good morning to you, Amyr. How are you?
Good morning, Sarah. I'm doing really well. Thank you. Thanks for the invitation. How are you?
Good. Very well. Thank you. Finally got a bit of sunshine outside. So, so it's looking like a good one. I was just explaining that you're a well-known figure in the Kingston and Wimbledon community. You do a huge amount, I know, to support people locally and local businesses, and also that you're a partner with Holland Hahn Wills. Now, we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. But I want to start by sort of shining the spotlight on you. This is our spotlight series where we shine the spotlight on entrepreneurs, why they do, what their passion is, you know, what makes you tick and stuff. And I think it's really interesting. I know you were born in Brazil. I think you were brought up in Australia and, if I'm not mistaken, the US as well. And so I guess, you know, how does Amyr Rocha Lima come to be working in Southwest London? How come we're so lucky to have you, you know, in our local area, you know, running the business you do and stuff? So tell us more about, you know, how do you come to be here?
That's very kind of you, Sarah. Thank you. And as I said at the beginning, thanks very much for the invitation. This is an awesome project that you've set up and you're running with your team. It's really, really cool. I'm really just proud to be part of it. So yeah, the making of Amyr Rocha Lima is it's a bit nomad and a bit full of twists and turns, I guess. But I'll briefly summarize it. So my parents, when they got married, I was born 3 years after they got married. I think when they had me and then my sister, they sort of so I'm born in the Midwest of Brazil. My dad was an economist, my mum was a teacher, and I think they sort of thought, well, it would be great if we could give our kids sort of an international education or an international outlook to the world versus the great upbringing that we were having in the Midwest of Brazil. So they did that. So my dad, through his profession, got an opportunity to move to Australia. So we lived a number of years in Australia, spent sort of the bulk of my childhood in Australia, went back to Brazil, back to sort of the Midwest, sort of very much countryside, no beaches, no samba, nothing like that around where I was growing up, very much cattle and horses and things like that. And it was great, a fantastic upbringing. Had an opportunity that my family does have a cattle ranch in Brazil. So every weekend or every summer spending at the cattle ranch and helping out or just seeing what they were doing or just fooling around, it was great. And then as I got older, I had the chance to move to America to the USA through an exchange program. So I did my last year of school in the US. And then instead of going back to Brazil, I said to my parents, to my dad in particular, I said, look, I've got this crazy idea. I'd love to go to uni in England. And actually, in the back of my mind, I wanted to be an actor. And I was thinking, you know, for me, as far as I understand, that the goal, the place to learn acting is the land of Shakespeare, the land of theatre as we know it, right? So hence I came to England. I got into uni, and after a while I dropped out of uni. And I did acting for a bit, but really, because of these twists and turns, I ended up finding myself in a sort of a graduate scheme type thing for a multinational asset management company. And that's how I went, oh, okay, so there's this thing called financial services as a sector, and there's this thing called investment management and financial planning as professions. Okay, well, let's see what happens. And that let's see what happens is the journey from the then till the now, really.
Well, it's a nice one to hear, and I do think that sounds like a rather sort of idyllic start to your life. And the cattle ranch in in Brazil sounds like a nice place to spend your summers. And actually, just before I move on, I am just dying to know the story behind the guitars in the background. And so, is this part of your kind of acting, performing sort of love, or is there a story there?
Yeah, well, the story is I taught myself how to play that acoustic guitar there. It's made in England. It's a beautiful instrument. But I'm full of vices and bad habits. But you know what I found, Sarah, was that when we had sort of at halls of residence or with other mates when I was younger, whenever you pulled out the guitar, the sort of drunker the crowd was, the better I sounded. And I thought, well, that's good, because in in one's uni days, one tends to enjoy nights out and things like that. So it was a way of making friends, I guess, but also doing something I enjoy, which is music. But like I said, I'm full of bad habits and vices. I've never had formal lessons, although, that's on the to-do list for one day, to actually take it seriously and learn it a bit more. It's a great instrument.
Excellent. That's a great story. Now, it's really interesting, because when I'm now getting asked, I think you are my 21st interviewee.
Wow.
I know on your podcast, which I'm going to ask you about it a bit later on, you've interviewed about 80 people. So, I've got a bit of catch up to do here. But people have started saying to me, so Sarah, who are you interviewing next week? And, and really love the one last week. So who are you going to be talking to? And when I mentioned I was talking to you, they said, oh my God, he's just brilliant. He's such a big supporter of the community, and we love him. And, he's such an interesting, inspirational speaker. And I was, when I was doing a little bit of sort of research and, and planning for this, one of the quotes I found on your Instagram page, I think is just brilliant. And I think it's a mantra by which I think many of us could live. Everyone must work. But for many of us, our job isn't just a paycheck. It's an opportunity to express ourselves and make something better. I love this quote. Tell me about you, Amyr. What inspires you? What drives you to make other people's lives better?
Yeah, that's fantastic, Sarah. And I appreciate you bringing that up, because, that has been a realization in the form of a very simple phrase that has appeared in my life in many different iterations, right? So, if I start at the beginning, when I was working in the City of London in an asset management firm, effectively selling investment products to other financial planning firms, during that period, it was right around the crisis of the great financial crisis of 2008. My grandfather, unfortunately, passed away in Brazil. Now, he passed away, even more unfortunately, having to suffer through this motor neuron disease for a while, which was really horrible. And it was incredible in a bad way, incredibly bad to see just this bull, this ox of a man, slowly lose his ability to talk, then lose his ability to walk, then lose his ability to move his hands and things like that. But what he didn't lose, Sarah, was his ability to maintain his dignity and his independence, in the sense that he could have and afford the care he needed in his home, surrounded by his family, for the period in which he endured this disease until the moment of his death. Now, that for me was huge, because I thought to myself, back here in the UK, this was 2008-9, what I'm doing is great, but I would love to cut the middleman and actually tell people that with financial planning, good financial planning, it's not that you plan for something horrible like that, but you can have a financial life that supports your actual life goals. And when I thought about that, Sarah, I thought, well, I'm that middleman. I'm the guy between the product and the financial planner. I want to be the financial planner. So that was the driver, to qualify myself, to get in with the different professional bodies that champion financial planning in the UK, and really start driving that within my own career with my clients. So that was thing number one. So fast forward many years, I'm now a financial planner. I have clients which I am doing exactly that for. I'm matching their life with their money and enabling them to have the best life they can with the money they have. So the sort of financial planning I want to do. I can think of a client of mine who, she used to be a HR director for a FTSE listed company. She used to manage a pretty heavy load of work during her career. And we worked together to essentially plan for her retirement. And what I do typically when folks are retiring is I want to set up a meeting 3 or 6 months after that initial I am retired phase, just to get a sense check for where they are. Now, she said something really interesting to me when I asked her, so how are things 6 months after we had enabled her to retire? She said, Amyr, there are some good bits, I'll be honest. But actually, most of it had been fairly pants. And I said, oh, why is that? And she said, well, I used to manage a multi-million-pound budget in my company. I used to have, almost 100 people under me in this multinational company that I used to manage. And over these last 6 months, I haven't even managed to get a plumber to show up in time. And that clicked, Sarah. That clicked. And I went, oh, the story of my grandfather having paid attention to something early in his life that ended up being a catalyst for him to continue being financially secure when this disease was robbing everything out of him. My client, who has all the money she needed to retire peacefully and comfortably forever, finding that actually there's certain things that money can't buy. It's just life outside of who I was in that company. Now I'm not that person. I'm somebody else, and I'm discovering who I am. Those catalysts are what drive the way I want to approach financial planning, which is we match one's this next chapter of their life, rather than leading with some sort of...
I'm going to interrupt you.
Yeah,
we lost connection. So that's such an important point you're making. So I'm going to rewind. And so you were just about to say, you know, the key is...
The key is matching one's life to one's money.
Yeah.
It's not about the hot fund that the Guardian or the Telegraph might be talking about. It's not about the latest cryptocurrency that somebody in the Midwest of America happens to get rich from. That leaves people none the wiser. It's about understanding, look, I've got this in terms of the numbers, and I really aspire to this in terms of the life. How can we get that to do this in a way that minimizes the risk, not of outperformance or underperformance, minimizes the risk of me not being able to do this thing that I would like to do for this next chapter of my life?
I completely agree. It is, it humanizes it. It personalizes it to, you know, your client is different from me, different from, you know, from another client. We've all got those goals, and it's a bit like our, you know, what I find about this entrepreneurial series that I'm doing on IG is actually each person has their dream, and know what your dream is, know what matters to you, because then you can plan for that. And then you'll know when you found it, and you know when you fulfilled it, or not. You know, not every dream gets fulfilled. And I think what you're doing is personalizing it and making it sort of unique to the individual. And you know, other people in the industry can be doing that too. But there is a sense of, as you say, being swept up with, you know, the stock market, what's happening, what's the latest trend, what's the latest this, like keeping up. And actually, why does that matter if what all you're doing is trying to match, you know, something that creates the opportunity to fulfill your dream? So one of the things I want to mention in this, because I mean, it's just so impressive. At the end of last year, you were recognized as one of the luminaries of the next generation of financial planners. I mean, that's a heck of an accolade. So, you know, so well done. But you started to allude to it just now in terms of your clients. You know, what I think there's something really special about Holland Hahn and Wills. So perhaps you can share with us what you feel makes it unique.
Absolutely. So firstly, I'll say, well, thank you for mentioning that accolade there. And the reality is, Sarah, as you well know, success has many parents, right? Mm-hmm. It's not just the work of one person. And that is the same for Holland Hahn Wills. You know, I, to a certain extent, have been able to stand on the shoulders of the fantastic work that Holland Hahn Wills were doing for a decade or more before I joined. And of course, I was able to bring some ideas that thankfully happened to gel with what they wanted to achieve. And now we're moving this thing forward even more. And that's the goal. Eventually, I'll be building a team behind me to keep doing the same, keep moving forward. Sure. So what's special about what we do is that we drive with financial planning, not with sales of investment products. And we try to create an opportunity for the client to see what the deliverables would be of this invisible thing called financial planning before they sign up to anything, right? And you wouldn't be surprised when I say this, that I have clients who are traders in private banks in the city. I have clients who work at international banks as general counsels or compliance officers, because inside those same institutions, they don't have the opportunity to have a financial planning-led relationship. They work inside the bank. They know it in and out. That's not to say that bank is wrong, by the way. It's to say that bank is offering the end solution, a product or a investment fund. We drive that relationship slightly differently. That really does make us unique in the area, and it makes us one of the few companies that does that, financial planning, wealth management companies that does that in the UK. You know, and Sarah, to be fair, I'm not sort of dissing the other companies that are out there. Yes. Financial planning as a profession is very young. It's still learning how to be a profession. It's taking quite a few leads from the accountancy playbook, from the solicitor playbook, and we are building this profession as we're going along from what was a pure sales mechanism to actually a relationship-based financial planning-led relationship that gets the client to understand their money and then to understand the recommendations we're making for them to do with their money. So that does make us special. And as I said, it's invisible. You can't touch it. You experience it. And there is a way of experiencing that with Holland Hahn Wills without having to sign up for anything.
That's really interesting, isn't it? And I guess also it is, I mean, something that's starting to get talked about a lot now is this, it's like a knowledge gap that you're alluding to, I guess, you know, within the industry, that so many people are specialists. You might be the best trader out there, you know, enormously successful in lots of ways. But why is there anything to suggest that you know exactly how to create the right the right sort of products and packages to match those life dreams that, you know, that we were talking about just now? And so it's again, it's, you know, we go to professionals for the right reasons, and actually it's a sort of professionalization of the industry, which, you know, which is so important. Now, we've been joined by lots of people. We're getting lots of nice comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One of the, you know, this is your chance. You know, I think it's so interesting. The, you know, people's understanding of money, financial products, planning for one's life goals, retirement, such a difficult word, you know, people hate the word pension and things, is, but actually this is your chance. You know, if you're on this and you're enjoying us and you're, you know, want to ask a question of Amyr, this is your moment to ask him. I know absolutely anything you will be happy to take. So, you know, ask him. No question is too small, no question is too big. But it's just actually, you know, how you get started and so forth. So please do pop any questions and comments that you want to put in there. And I guess, you know, you joined Holland Hahn Wills, I think it was 3-4 years ago now. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously, you know, you had joined them well before the pandemic, but we've just gone through the most extraordinary period. You know, people literally not able to go into their offices. Yeah. You know, you could see the stock market, you know, taking a big tumble at the beginning of COVID. No one knew this was, you know, the beginning of the end, you know, what to do and stuff and things. And so maybe you could talk about how, as a business, you've adapted during COVID, and also how you've been able to support your clients who understandably would have gone through a whole sort of journey of emotions themselves.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the first bit of that question, Sarah, because like every single business out there, it hasn't been without its ups and downs, that's for sure. Now, thankfully, we as a firm had embarked on an exercise. This is just serendipity. In 2019, to move our IT system to a secure cloud-based system that enabled us, and this was our goal at the time, that enabled us to offer flexible working for our existing team. So our company is made up of, I think more than 50% are women. And out of those, most of those are working mums. And the way we attract that talent to our office to compete with the city employers that, of course, would hire them in the first place is to say, look, we're a local firm, you live locally. If we can offer a package that somewhat is competitive on the salary front, but more important, is competitive on the enabling you to have a life as a working mum front, then hopefully we become an attractive employer. So that's what we did back then. And we have indeed attracted some amazing professional women to our company. And it was just luck that we had that in place when COVID struck. So everybody was able to lift up their laptops and take it home and still work in very much the same manner as they were working in the office. So that was just lucky. Again, not without its ups and downs in terms of our workflow. You know, you have to figure out how to sort out the post. Financial services is still all wet signature based. Electronic signatures, a novelty, believe it or not, in financial services as a whole, as a sector. Yeah. But we've managed to do it. And so the business has been running somewhat as usual. Now, with some improvements, of course, because we've had to streamline things. So that has been a benefit. On the client front, the planning-led, goals-based approach, Sarah, has come into its own. And this is not the way we want to test these things, but we've seen it. We've tested this with our clients during the great financial crisis. And what happened after that was that our business grew. And it's the same thing that's happening after this COVID shakeup that happened in March, April of 2020. Our business has grown through referrals from our existing clients, referring us to their friends and their family who are not being served in the manner that they're being served. In other words, all they got was panic back from their financial advisors. Oh, let's sell, or let's do this. And they're thinking, why isn't John or why isn't Sarah saying this? They're saying that their planner is taking them through their plan. And then by taking them through their plan, they're seeing that actually they have a framework in place. That means that they don't need to panic. Why am I not getting that message? Why am I saying, oh, now you should buy X? Or no, now you should buy Y? And folks are getting tired of that. And thankfully, our clients are advocates for our services and for our business. So it's been a positive in that sense. It was a positive with our clients. Again, not without the normal human reaction of, gosh, do I need to panic? That's fine. You can have that. We're all human. But we have the frameworks in place to say, well, Sarah, let's test that out. Let's see if you need to panic, given your life goals, given your money, and given what's happening out there. And thankfully, nobody needed to panic, Sarah. Nobody needed to panic. So yeah, it's been a, not without its ups and downs, but in the main, a positive experience for business growth, for strengthening our relationships, and for validating the thing that we do, which is planning-led, goals-focused financial planning and wealth management.
Yeah, incredibly important because, again, it's the biggest curveball. I mean, 2008 was a different type of crisis, but at a human level, it is the biggest curveball I think that
100%.
Hopefully that we will know in our generation. And it is interesting because, again, there was that temptation to panic. And of course, then you look and see what happened to stock markets, after that, and how the different ones rebounded and recovered and stuff. And so again, it is coming back to that long-term plan is everything, because it stops you making that knee-jerk move. Yeah. Now, moving on to, I know you do a lot of teaching in business schools and in universities and stuff and things, and I know you're just passionate about helping the next generation with their financial well-being, their awareness, and just helping them to understand that across their life, starting from as young age as possible. Perhaps you can, shed some light on that and, why it's so important to start early.
Yeah. So the thing that we try to do at Holland Hahn Wills is be a community-based business in the truest sense of the word. We don't know everything, but we know a lot about what we know about. And what we feel like is our responsibility is to champion that in the community. So one of the things that we've been doing is creating accessible sessions that we can deliver to primary schools, to secondary schools, and we've even delivered this to Kingston University, where we are able to talk about money, talk about money and the things that go around money, the compound interest or the concept of budgeting in a way that is appropriate for that age bracket. Right, so we've now tested or ran these sessions at those different levels, and thankfully they've all been very well received. Because again, my kids are very young, but for example, my colleague Katie Lovett, her children are sort of around that 11 to sort of 8 to 11 sort of age bracket. So we can test these concepts out. Her being a mum of children that age. And we can have is this the language? Is this the thing that would catch their attention? So between us as a team, we bring that life experience that we have of kids at different ages. I can still relate to someone who's at uni. And a very technical session on pensions isn't going to do it. It's about the post-uni years and how they can make that financially viable for them in a really simple way that they can annotate in a piece of paper on their phone, keep that and say, okay, I'm going to use this as a little rule of thumb for how I'm going to manage my money just for these next few years. Things that catch their attention. And we're big believers in that because it's been proven to me time and time again that if you help increase the overall pie of whatever it is that you do, your slice of it will be bigger. Even if it's the same slice, it's a bigger pie. Your slice is bigger. Sarah, I've got yesterday, listen to this, right? Yesterday, one of the biggest financial planning podcasts in the UK, one of the most listened to podcasts. The host of that podcast is a financial planner with a financial planning business. One of his avid listeners lives in Kingston. He's down in Cornwall. Okay. And the guy contacted him and said, hey, Pete, I'm ready now. I've been listening to your show forever. I'm ready now to actually engage in formal financial planning. What did Pete do? Call Amyr. Right? So he gets it. And I think I get that. And I think a lot of other people get that. If we all just help increase the pie, there's more than enough business to go around for everybody. We try to do that in our fields. And we're keen to be part of projects like the one you're running here, which is to say, look at the business community in this area. Let's increase that pie because there's more than enough people for us to serve in this area and even beyond. So that's why we're passionate about it. You could almost look at it as a selfish thing. Of course it's not. It's fun and it's great to see people developing. It's one of those things where you get a lot of joy out of seeing other people get joy and get a tool that is useful for them in their life. You know this. I know you're a big champion of that yourself. So that's, yeah, that is part of what we're all about as a firm.
It's so interesting. I mean, there's so many things that came out of that. And again, you're absolutely right. You know, we're passionate at Really Healthy Club in just how you empower people with knowledge. You know, you give them the tools, you give them the understanding, you give them the information, and then it's over to them to, you know, to have that as a toolkit as they navigate their way through their life. And it's, you know, and we're trying to do that with our own program in schools as well. And where just so it puts it on their radar. And it's like, you know, why should they know about it? Why should anyone know about just something as you know, something as immediate in their life when they come out of school, like should they take out a student loan or not? How they manage their budget of, you know, if they've lived at home all that time, you know, why should they know how to manage something as straightforward as, you know, of being able to budget for, you know, a week's worth of food and stuff. And I think we all know, if we're truthful with ourselves, we can all budget better. We can all manage our money better. We can all, you know, right from the, you know, the bottom up to the long-term wealth creation, which is, you know, obviously the end goal. So, you know, back to what you were talking about just now in terms of that wider mission with the community. I love your Kingston podcast. It's just, it's real addictive listening. It's fascinating because, again, I can see you, you know, you just really get behind businesses. And I know you do a lot with Kingston Chamber as well and stuff. So tell us about, you know, some of the stories, some of the businesses, what led you to start it?
Yeah. So thank you, Sarah. So that's really kind feedback. The Inside Kingston podcast is a simple idea, right? I just thought that once I moved to this area and started working at Holland Hahn Wills, I didn't have any professional connections in the area whatsoever. I was starting from scratch. And, you know, you and I, previous careers, you know, we've been taught how to network and how to start building those professional connections. But frankly, I became a bit bored with that. I'm like, okay, I could start networking in the traditional sense again. And I thought, no. And again, one of the things I like about the Really Helpful Club is the twist on that networking idea. And that's what I thought at the time. So 2 years ago, I thought, no, hang on a second. What I want to do is create a platform to start highlighting the stories of local professionals, entrepreneurs, and community leaders in the area who perhaps haven't had a platform to tell their story before. Get them to have a great piece of content to share with their friends and family, to highlight them, what they do, why they do it in the community. And so we started with the first conversation. I thought, okay, how am I going to get other guests to join this? Because if I start small, people are going to say, "Ooh, I've never been on a pod," and they're going to feel quite scared. So I just rocked up to the Rose Theatre and asked for Rob O'Dowd, who's the director of the Rose Theatre. And I said, look, if you get on the show, I think it validates the show and I can get other people on the show. And thankfully, Rob said, yeah, we'll do it. So he's the first guest, and please don't listen to that episode.
It was a brilliant podcast. It's really good.
You know, by learning on the fly, that is the perfect example of learning how to interview. So I had never done that before. So it isn't great, but at least what I figured out very quickly was, Amyr, just shut up and listen, because whatever you ask people, it's their story. It's not my story. It is their story. It's just like you're doing here, Sarah. You're asking me a question and you're letting me expand it because, well, that's the nature of this. And when that clicked, we've now got a collection of 85 conversations. We're booked up to number 100 already. And I know I urge your listeners to just have a little look, scroll through the list on iTunes or Spotify. You will see, well, oh, I have a coffee there, or, oh, I know this person who runs this social media, you know, whatever it is, there are conversations there. And again, for folks that are in the area, in the Kingston area, feel free to get in touch. If you have a great story to tell, you're a business owner and I haven't contacted you, feel free to. It's a way of doing that, a way of creating, again, that momentum, strengthening the business community in our area.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it comes back to one of the things you were saying at the beginning about it humanizes people. It humanizes the business. It puts context, why they do what they do. This whole sort of light bulb inspiration, that shared insight, shared experiences is, again, I think there's a great synergy between what you're doing and what we're aiming to achieve here. So look, we've been on air for 30 minutes. We always try and have a rule of 30 minutes or less. I feel we could go on for a long time. You know, it's just so fascinating, you know, just hearing you share your insights. But my last question is this. Look, you know, you've talked about a long-term plan. It would be very amiss of me not to ask you about Amyr Rocha Lima's long-term plan. and I'll put that in the context of Holland Hahn Wills, in case I'm asking the wrong type of question.
No.
But it's but look, you've come a long way from a ranch in Brazil to what you do now, and I guess what's your vision, long-term plan, whether it's your own life, life's journey for your family, what you're doing for your clients, where you see Holland and Hahn Wills going. It's I think it's a really interesting thing to know from you. Yeah.
So thank you, Sarah. And firstly, thanks for the opportunity to even share this. I hope it's been of value to our listeners. So there's a Zen Buddhist saying that I came across during this COVID, this in and out of lockdowns COVID period we've been through in these last 14 months. And I think I'd read it before and it never clicked, but this time it clicked. And it goes something like this: before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. And I think what I understand from that is this: it's about the journey. It's not about the destination, and it's about lifelong learning. That one will always need to chop wood and carry water. It doesn't matter if you've got there, whatever your there is, or if you're still on the journey to your there. So for me, Sarah, that means this: we're going to continue to strive to make Holland Hahn Wills a very strong community-based business. We want to serve folks in our community. Most of our clients live in a 5-mile radius from our office. We want to continue to serve them in a way that makes them advocates of our service to their friends and their family. We want to also add value to the community via pro bono work, be it workshops at schools or post-COVID workshops at our office for adults who are interested in learning more. And we want to get involved in initiatives like the one you're building with the Really Helpful Club, to say to the community around here, look, we're here. We're part of a group of people locally who are trying to create a great service locally that you can feel confident in supporting. And that's the business goal for us. As vague as that sounds, and of course it's full of details, that is the big goal on the page. The details are things that we work on and try to improve and iterate every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year. Brilliant.
Absolutely. I think that's just the most brilliant answer. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. We've had a lot of you on here listening, watching. We will share this on IGTV afterwards. We also then put this on the Really Helpful Club website. We stick this on our YouTube channel. We put this on LinkedIn. Put it this way, there's not many places you're not going to be able to see this. So if you see this and you've enjoyed this, we just have one task for you as a listener, is share it. Share it to those people you think could benefit from this, those people who would enjoy listening to Amyr, or maybe you're a Kingston business or a local business and you want to get your chance to shine on that podcast that is doing so well and people rate so highly. So this is a chance again to that classic 1 + 1 can equal a lot more than 2. This is our chance to pull together as as a like-minded community. So it's an utter pleasure. Thank you so much. I mean, I just love that. It's about the journey. It's about lifelong learning. Nothing better to live by than that. Amyr, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Sarah. All the best. And thanks for everybody who joined us today. It's great.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.